But invariably, as a hacker, cybersecurity expert, there's going to be something new in the world that you're going to want, right?
But you'd only put in like well-known repositories, right?
I've got this new repository of all the best hacking software.
Exactly.
VMware does a lot of things a little bit better than VirtualBox.
Hey everyone, it's David Bombal back with Occupy the Web. If you don't know who he is, and you should know by now, he's the author of this book, Linux Basics for Hackers. We are continuing our series, and if you haven't watched the previous videos, then have a look at them below. Today we are doing Chapter 4, covering Chapter 4, adding and removing software. Occupy the Web, welcome.
Thanks, David. It's always an honor to be back on the best IT and cybersecurity channel on YouTube.
I appreciate that. And, you know, you're a big reason or big contributor to the channel. So thanks so much for sharing your knowledge. Just for, once again, people who haven't seen Occupy the Web's videos with me in the past, he's also the author of this book, Network Basics for Hackers and Getting Started Becoming a Master Hacker. And I always mention this because networking is very close to my heart. I love the way, Occupy the Web, that you approach all of these topics, Linux, networking, whatever it is, Android hacking, etc., but from a hacker's mindset. So really looking forward to the video today.
Thanks. You know, it's one of the things that I always say is that if you want to be a hacker, you need to have at least some fundamental understanding of Linux, which is what we're doing, and of networking. And that's why I wrote those two books. Both of those books are written to give the reader a foundation that they can build upon to become a hacker. You know, neither book is complete in terms of all Linux or all networking, but the idea is to give the reader enough foundation that they can build upon and how they can use their knowledge in the cybersecurity hacking world. So today, what we want to do is we want to look at Chapter 4, Linux Basics for Hackers. And in this book, we try to lay out some of the simple ways that the user can be able to add new software. You know, Kali and Parrot, both of them are really good operating systems. They have lots of tools built into them. But invariably, as a hacker, cybersecurity expert, there's going to be something new in the world that you're going to want. Right? They can't put all the tools into Kali. There's a lot of them. There's hundreds of tools in both of them. But you're eventually going to come across the time when, oh, there's a new tool out or a tool that's not included that I need for whatever I'm doing at this particular time. So what we're going to talk about is how we can do that. Now, the reader may or may not know, but each of the distributions of Linux have their own what's called package manager. A package manager is simply a way to put software in a form that when you download it, it's ready to run. That means it has all the things that you need. We call them dependencies, right? And it's already built for your operating system because each one of the operating systems are slightly different. Yeah. So in the case of Kali, Kali's built on Debian. So we use the Debian package manager, which is called apt.
Occupy the Web, the question that often arises, so Debian is sort of one distribution, but what about like Red Hat?
Many of the different distributions of Linux use different package managers. In the case of Red Hat, which is one of the most widely used Linux distributions for Linux administration, for server administration, they use both Yum and RPM. So what we're doing here is not really applicable to Red Hat, but it is certainly applicable to all of the Debian distributions like Ubuntu. Okay? Ubuntu is built upon Debian, Kali is built upon Debian, Parrot is built upon Debian. So that's kind of an important note because the packages that are in the repositories for those Debian-like distributions will generally work in, and that's going to be an important point that I want to raise later on when we start talking about how to go ahead and get your software. So each one of these distributions has their own repository, repositories where they store all the software. And so you can go ahead and simply download the packages from the repository by simply using, let's go sudo, okay, apt, okay? And it used to be apt-get, so you'll see in my book that I use apt-get because that was commonly used before the last few years. Things have changed a little bit, but apt-get still works like this, with a hyphen between them. It still works. Either one of them is going to work. So it's going to be apt, and then say we want to go ahead and look for a particular piece of software. All right, so we go search. We can go apt search, and then look for a particular keyword, like go say Bluetooth. All right. And then it's going to ask me for my password, and it'll show me all of the packages, all right, that have something to do with Bluetooth. And you can see bluez right here is an important package for being able to manage Bluetooth. It allows you to do Bluetooth recon, what have you. So if I wanted to go ahead and say install snort, in the book I installed snort, or actually it was used to be built in by default into Kali. But if I wanted to install snort, I think we did this in an earlier video, right? I could go sudo apt, okay, install, and then whatever the name of the package is, okay, say snort. Now, if I do that, so it goes ahead and it comes back and tells me snort's already the newest version. It comes back and tells me there's some other issues, but those really don't apply to this right here. So make sure that, you see it's already installed the newest version. Now, when you, all the people out there watching this video, try to do this, you're probably going to get an error that says snort is not available, right? And so earlier, I think it was on maybe in chapter 2, we talked about ways that we can go ahead and add other repositories to the Kali repository. Because remember that if it's not in the Kali repository, in this case snort is no longer in the Kali repository, it might be in somebody else's repository, like the Debian repository or the Ubuntu repository. So oftentimes what I'll do is I'll just put those repositories on my list of repositories to check, because the Kali repositories are defined for hacking tools and cybersecurity, but sometimes I just want an administration tool, and that might very well be in Ubuntu or the Debian repository. I showed you this earlier, but I'll show it to you again. All right, so we can go mouse pad, all right, and then I can go to the etc. Remember that configuration files are in etc. Okay, then apt, okay, this is the tool that we're using, apt, and then go sources list, right? In this file is where all of the repositories are listed. Let's go ahead and open that up, all right? And you can see that in my case here, I actually commented it out. let's take the comment out. Here's the Debian repository, right? And here's the Kali here's the Kali repository right here. Right? I've put in the Debian repository, and I also have and they've all been commented out, but the parent repositories as well. And oftentimes I'll put in the Ubuntu repositories too. So what this does is that when you try to install a package, it'll go first to the very first repository, this one right here, the Kali. If it finds it, it'll go get it. If it doesn't find it, it'll go to the next one. Then it'll go look, in this case, look in the Debian repository. If it doesn't find it there, then it'll go to the parent repository. And then, you can have a whole list and keep going through until it finds whatever you're looking for. So this is one of those things that I think newcomers to Linux should be familiar with, because not all the tools that you want are necessarily going to be in the repository that you're default setup for. Now, you got to be careful in that some of the repositories, like Red Hat and others, those tools might not work in Debian, right? Because Red Hat's a little bit different. It's Linux, but it's a little bit different. So it might not have the proper dependencies that you need. So what I would recommend is that you add some of these repositories. You can just go, whatever repository you're looking for, just Google, say, hey, what's the repository for Ubuntu? Come up and it'll tell you what the repository is for Ubuntu. And you can go ahead and add it to your repository list.
But you'd only put in well-known repositories, right? Because there could be the risk of just adding some dodgy software, right?
Yeah, if you put in any repository, it might be that if I'm if I'm a malicious actor, I might add a repository and say, hey, I've got this new repository of all the best hacking software.
Exactly.
And then everybody goes and uses that repository, and you're installing software that may be malicious. So only use those for the major distributions. Don't go ahead and bring in any of the outside or as you refer to them, dodgy or just off the beaten path repositories. You got to always be careful, because you're basically giving permission for somebody to put software on your system. And if you're giving them permission, you have to trust them. So make sure you can trust them. All right. So that's how we go ahead and change our repository. All right. So let's add another package. Let's go, I'm going to clear my screen. All right, so we're going to see if we can't get a package called bluez. It's a Bluetooth management software. It allows you to be able to scan for Bluetooth devices and manage your Bluetooth devices. So we're going to go apt install bluez. And let's see if we can get it here. There we go. Beautiful. Okay. And now we're going ahead and downloading bluez. And this would allow us now to be able to control, manage, and scan all of our Bluetooth devices. If you're doing anything in Bluetooth, and we'll do it in the wireless chapter in Linux Basics for Hackers. Okay, which service did you want to be restarted? Let's go ahead and just hit the space bar. So we got Network Manager. Then go hit the tab, go to OK, and goes ahead, and you see it's disconnected. Network connection's been disconnected. It'll reconnect in a moment here. Should, at least. Okay, so now I've got bluez on my system. This is not built into Kali. It's in the repository, but it's not built in. So we've gone ahead and installed it on my system. All right. If we wanted to remove software, we can use the same. We can go sudo apt. All right, remove. Let's remove our snort. Oh, I'm going to have snort on this. Let's go remove bluez. Let's go ahead and remove it. And yep, say yes. And it goes ahead and removes it. Now, sometimes when you go ahead and remove, it'll actually leave behind still configuration files. And so if you want to get rid of everything, what you want is not remove, but purge. All right, so this gets rid of everything, any type of residual of the software on your system, and goes ahead and gets rid of all of that. And it's going ahead and trying to get rid of all of that. All right, great. And then one of the things you want to do periodically is to be able to update your packages. So what happens is that Kali keeps a list on your system of all the available packages, so that if Kali puts in a new package, all right, into the repository, it might be there, but you're not going to be able to download it because your system doesn't know that it's there. And so what you need to do then is go sudo apt update. Right? And what this will do is it'll go into the repository and update your list of all of the packages that are available to you. You got to do this periodically, or what'll happen is that you'll try to download a package that is actually there, but your system will tell you that it's not.
Such an important command to know, right? Because people often forget that, and then things just don't work.
Yep. Notice that they're using now the Kali Dark Lab as the repository. They changed the URL slightly, and this is 2023.3. All right, had 802 packages. It comes back and says can be upgraded. All right, let's go ahead and do that. All right, so this will give us the latest versions of these packages. All right, upgrade. All right, says you don't have enough free space, okay, on this system.
So Occupy the Web, you're using VMware here, right? So that just gives you the ability to expand the size of the disk quite easily, right?
Right. VMware does a lot of things a little bit better than VirtualBox, but there is a price for it. I don't know, it's about $200. I think there's an academic version. It's about $150 or something if you're a student, but it actually works significantly better, enough so that it makes it worth your spending the little bit of money for it. In some cases, it might be a lot of money, but I find it saves me time and saves me headaches to be able to use VMware. This is not an ad. We're not sponsored by VMware, but I'm just simply giving you the real facts. VMware is a little bit better than VirtualBox, but it's not free. Okay. One of the things that people who are used to or comfortable using a GUI-based system is that there's actually a GUI-based package that we can install on our system that will allow us to download new software. And this is called Synaptic. All right, so let's go ahead and go sudo apt install Synaptic. And there's others as well. This is one of them, all right? And we'll go ahead and install this. And so if you want to use a GUI-based system to install software, this will help you with that. One of the beauties of it is that you can kind of see all of the software packages that are available to you, and sometimes that can just spur thoughts, okay? Let's go sudo Synaptic. And here's the Synaptic package manager, all right? And it's going to show you all of the packages that are available for your system with a little bit of description, right? And you can just kind of scroll through them. You can also search. Remember that we had earlier done Bluetooth, so let's go use Bluetooth, and it'll come back and it'll show me all of the Bluetooth packages, right, that have Bluetooth anywhere in there. Or say you're looking for MySQL, right? And you can go and search, and it'll show you all the MySQL packages. And sometimes this can be a little confusing because there's a lot of them. And most of them you see are libraries for MySQL. And I'm going to kind of repeat what I said earlier about MySQL and Maria. They're both, basically, they're clones of each other. So in my book, I often make reference to MySQL, but Kali now uses Maria. They're basically the same thing. So you can see right here, for instance, this is a CLI, okay, for MySQL MariaDB. They're basically the same thing. What's happened is that the people who developed MySQL sold it to Oracle, eventually to Oracle, and then they came back and built a clone, and it's an open source as well. So, but basically the commands and the tools are going to work in both of them. So that's going to make, for some cases, it's going to make it easier. If you want to get something, you simply go ahead and click on it, and you can go ahead and these that have the plus mark on it are already installed, I believe. No, the check is the, okay, so I want to go get this one, and go ahead, and then go ahead and mark the required. I haven't used this in a while, you can tell.
Yeah, I'd rather use the CLI, right?
Yeah, I mean, so used to using the CLI, but I want other people to be able to.
Yeah.
Now, how do I go ahead and?
Did you click apply?
Oh yeah, and apply. Thank you. All right. So you're going to make the following changes. Apply. It'll go ahead and install those packages for you. All right. So it's downloading those packages.
What's your opinion? Because, I see a lot of hate when people say, oh, script kiddies, they don't know that you need to learn the CLI. But my attitude is always, all of us started at zero, right? And I mean, that's what I love about what you're doing here. You got to start somewhere.
All of us started at zero, and the book is designed for people starting at zero who want to get into cybersecurity. So I try to show multiple ways of doing the same thing. I really object to people, calling names at other people of script kiddies, what have you. We've all started there. We've all done that. There's no point in being able to disparage other people who are just learning. So we all started as script kiddies, and some people are more comfortable with GUI-based package managers or GUI-based anything because they've grown up in a Windows or an Apple world where they don't use a command line. So that's why I put this into the book. And, I quite honestly, if ever, use this package manager, but it's important that everybody's different. Everybody has different ways they feel comfortable with. And so this way, it visually shows you all of the packages. And sometimes as a beginner, by seeing all the packages, they're like, oh, wow, look at all the packages that I can install on my system, all this cool software for free. Yeah. Which, you can do it with the command line as well, but it's not quite as visually appealing. So you can see it's still downloading my packages. All right. And while it's doing that, all right, I'm going to go ahead and open up another terminal. Okay. Let's talk about a couple more ways that we can go ahead and get software. 2 or 3 more ways. Probably one of the most important ones, once you've got an idea of how to be able to get from the package manager into your Kali, the next thing you really need to do is how to get tools off GitHub. And so GitHub, there's lots of tools on GitHub. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, but sometimes you really need that tool that's on GitHub. And there's a command that we can use called git clone. And what this does is it downloads from a URL of a GitHub page the software that you need. In the book, I used one called Blue Diving, staying with the whole Bluetooth theme. I'm not sure that it's still there, but we'll check. Okay. It always begins with github.com. All right, and then this guy's name was, or his repository is Bally, and then Blue Diving Git. And this is some Bluetooth hacking tools, and you see it's going ahead and going into GitHub, and it found the tools that I wanted. Notice that it says it's cloning into. That means it's created a new directory called Blue Diving. So we can go there and then go ls-l, and then we have a number of tools that are available. Looks like they are Perl scripts. You see this here, the PL. These are Perl scripts for doing Bluetooth hacking. So let's go ahead. One of the tools that you might want to use is a tool called pip. Pip is the Python package manager. And so remember, we can use the sudo apt, all right, search. All right, and let's go search for pip. Pip is the Python package manager, and it allows us to go ahead and get Python packages from their repository. This is not in the book, by the way. So we're adding something new, and you can see it goes through here. We see a lot of stuff with pip in it, but what we're really looking for is the package manager, pip, and the new version should be pip 3. All right. Wow, there's a lot of stuff. What we're doing here is we're going to try to install the package manager for Python 3. It's Python 3-pip, and we go hit enter, and it says it's already running, of course, on my system because I use it all the time. Now, Python 3, the pip package manager is great for installing so many different packages. One of them that I use a lot is the one that allows me to use the Linux command line on Shodan. So all of your viewers are familiar with Shodan, and so this allows me to do that kind of work from the command line. So we'll go sudo pip 3 Shodan, and all right. So it already says requirement already satisfied. Shodan's already there. So you can install Shodan, and now you can do Shodan searches from your command line. So for instance, let's just do a quick demonstration here. So we can let's go sudo Shodan. And remember, if you know Shodan syntax, right, you can search by port. So we can say, okay, Shodan, search by port 502, which is a ICS port. It's used for Modbus. First of all, we've got to initialize Shodan. So we'll go Shodan. Let's do Shodan-H first. All right. Now that we have it installed, and you can see here's the commands that I can use. Here's the search command. That's what we'll be using. But before we can use it, we have to init. Okay, that's initialize Shodan with your API key. So I'll go Shodan, okay, init, and then my API key. All right. So now I can use my Shodan from the command line in my Kali. I can go Shodan, all right, and then go search, and then port, or whatever the search you want to look for, right? So we know that the most basic type of Shodan search is we can search by port. In this case, this is an industrial control system port. We're going to go ahead and find all the systems in the world that have port 502 open on them. Give it a moment to do. There it is. And you can see that it's going ahead and listing all the IP addresses, okay, and I'm just going ahead and hitting enter to go through the list. The list is going to be thousands and thousands. Just like in Shodan, I do a queue because this is using more as a display. I can also go country, say FR, France. All right, so I'll just go ahead and find all those in France. In some cases, this is a little bit easier to work with, okay, then the website, so I can get them all, and I can put them all into a file and then search those. So I'm going to go Q out of those. So that's one that we can use to be able to use Shodan. There's lots of other tools like this that we can install that are not installed by default in Kali that might be really useful. Finally, there's another package manager that's used for Ruby scripts, and that's called Gem. All right, and so we can, if you have a particular tool that's written in Ruby, you might want to use a gem install. It's very similar to pip, right? In this case, there's a tool that's written in Ruby called Modbus CLI, if I remember correctly. It comes with, you don't have write permissions. So let's go ahead and use sudo on it. This is another tool that is not in the Kali repository. And so I've gone ahead and installed it using Gem, which is the Ruby package manager. The Gem being a reference to the Ruby, right? So that helps you remember the command. So those are kind of the basic ways that we can go ahead and install new tools in our system. Probably in a later tutorial, later video here, we'll actually show you how to make a tool from source. It's not in the book Linux Basics for Hackers. Probably going to add it in a later version, but right now it's not there. But we'll do a tutorial on that.
That'd be great.
Later. Right now I want to just keep it simple for those people who are just starting out and how to go ahead and take the packages off the repositories and get them into your system. So I think that's a good overview of all the ways that we can go ahead and install new software into our Kali system.
I love it. I mean, you've not just covered apt, which is what a lot of people would assume. You've covered others as well. So really appreciate you doing that, Occupy the Web. As always, where can people get more information? Is it Twitter? Is it on your website? Just tell us how people can reach out to you if they want to learn more.
Well, you can always find me on Twitter under 3_cube, C-U-B-E. They can go to hackersarise.com, and you're welcome also to email me at occupytheweb, one word, at protonmail.com, which is, that email address is actually in the chapter 13 of Linux Basics for Hackers. So I welcome your emails, your comments on Twitter, or coming to Hackers Arise and let us know what you think.
And I'll just have to say this because I know people will comment. I know it's X now, so on X, right? So
I will probably always say Twitter, right?
Yeah. Hard to change. Hard to change.
It's hard to change. I mean, I know that what Elon Musk is trying to do, and I hope he's successful. But it's all, it's been Twitter for 20 years, and it's I'm not going to immediately change over to saying Twitter. But so you're welcome to correct me if I say Twitter.
Occupy the Web, as always, thanks so much. And just for everyone who's interested, I've put links to the books below. Those are affiliate links, so I will get a commission. But if you want to support the channel and support Occupy the Web, then use those links below. Go to Occupy the Web's website if you want to learn far more. I mean, we can only cover so much on YouTube, but if you want to really get into like what I would call insane, really good courses, then have a look at his website. Occupy the Web, as always, thanks so much.
You're welcome, David. It's always good being here. Thanks for having me on again.